All right, we are actually live right now. For those of you who will eventually be listening, we may be having some technical difficulties where some of the talking may not match up exactly with the lip movements. So we'll just see what happens. But we have nobody watching it right at the second, so we're good.
Well, if I keep the mic in front of my mouth, they'll never know.
They'll never know the difference. Good plan. Good plan.
All right. Make sure if you guys
we'll blame it on Ghost.
Yeah.
If you guys have any questions, make sure that you join on. We just now started up, guys, so you haven't missed anything yet. Got 21 already, 25. So if you got questions, go ahead and shoot them to us. So we've got a couple of questions. We're going to get started here in just a couple of minutes. We're going to give some people a chance to get on. Talk amongst yourselves.
Hey, Tammy, Chrissy, Cody, Amy, and Trisha. Whew. I always feel bad. I leave somebody out every week. Hi, Sarah. Good day. Oh, wait a minute. Good day, Glenn. That didn't sound good, did it?
Going up, we got 43 people.
Good day, mate. How was that?
It's horrible, as usual.
Dang it.
Go put some shrimp on the bobby.
That's
not very good either.
Maybe we should stick to our own accents.
Yeah.
Yes, you can say holy shit on here, Dan. Love you, Greg. Thank you, honey.
I'm trying to pull up our list of questions because, as usual, I'm not prepared because of the technical difficulties we ran into.
What are you trying to do?
I'm pulling up the questions that we had.
Oh.
I have a question. How have you guys not killed each other yet, being quarantined together for all this time?
Well, I've been sleeping like 24 hours a day. I figured if I sleep, then I don't eat, then I don't gain weight. So there you go. But Jerry, he's all over the place doing stuff, you know?
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, I'm still working 8 to 10 hours every day. So whether it be the podcast or insurance or whatever the situation is.
Yeah. It's not been that bad.
Yeah, it's the same here.
Yeah.
Hey, Cynthia.
Oh, hey, Derek. Blast from the past. We got Veronica, Wes.
Now look at this cool thing we can
do. One of our favorite haunted places.
Oh my God.
Oh my goodness.
And it's funny because Holly's actually the one who actually asked a question earlier today. So
I'd have to throw myself on a grill and burn me. Then I'd eat me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, she has to have her hot dogs.
Ooh, I like when you bite in it. When you bite in it goes
crispy.
Oh gosh, beyond crispy. I love it.
Have you ever spiral cut it before you put it on the barbecue? Because it gives an extra little bit of crisp all the way around. It's really good.
That is great. And that's what we will do the next time. Take notes. Jerry Polly. Man, yeah,
I'm not crazy about hot dogs anyway, so I don't know. I'd be hard pressed to eat a hot dog if I was starving, much less if I was the hot dog. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, stick a little mustard on us. We'll be good.
Yeah, I can't find my questions from earlier.
Tammy said spiral cut hot dogs are good.
All right.
We had a question
about it.
Wes asked a couple of questions.
Yes.
First, he wants to know where Ninja is.
Ninja is upstairs because he doesn't know how to not bark while we're doing this.
Yeah.
I thought he always snored.
Oh, he does. He does snore. And
but
it would echo in here.
In here because we're in the same room with the ferrets and he can't handle it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But he sends his love.
Julie noted.
And then Wes asked another question. What was it about? What is your favorite haunted place? And he said Savannah, Georgia is his.
I've never been to Savannah. That probably would be my favorite. That's probably your favorite, I'm going to guess. But I would say
it's pretty close.
City-wise, I'm going to take Louisville, just because old Louisville is haunted, and then you've got what?
I wasn't thinking for that reason.
Yeah, I mean, old Louisville, it's an entire city that's haunted, and then you've got Zachary Taylor over there, over that neck of the woods, Camp Taylor. That's another part of the city. It's on a suburb, but it's part of the city, and it's actually haunted. And both of those places are really cool. And then, you know, when you figure in the other things like Waverly, that's completely, I mean, it's loaded with haunted stuff.
There is a bunch of stuff for sure.
Holly said, asking for a friend, how are you staying sane during the pandemic?
Rebuilding your pond, I'm guessing.
True.
I mean, to me, it's really, I know this is going to sound crazy because of the circumstances, but I have spent the better part of the last 20 years working 6 to 7 days a week, 70 hours a week. And then the last 4 years putting together a podcast for another 30 to 40 hours a week. And then you've got to cram everything into one day off. I'm kind of enjoying not having to be able to go anywhere. And I think the only way it was ever going to happen is for the government to tell me I couldn't go anywhere.
Please tell those places, don't employ you.
I go to the store and Lowe's.
Stores and Lowe's.
You know,
What do
it's
you
the
do?
same here because we work a ton. And usually on the weekends, then we're like, well, we want to go do something because we've had to work so much. And you don't really have time to just kind of sit and vegetate and binge shows on TV. People are always talking about all these great things they're watching, and we never have any time to watch anything. So we've been binging a ton of stuff, and just it's kind of nice because you have an excuse to just not go anywhere. So you don't have to sit there and go, well, we really should go do something.
Yeah, normally we're running all over the place. So
Yeah. And
good to have some time down.
Yeah, definitely.
I started watching The Sopranos 20 years after.
Oh gosh, seriously! Just now I started watching The Sopranos.
And now I'm like completely
No
hooked.
spoilers.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm completely hooked. Hey, and y'all's
somebody gets
it
shot.
looks like the technical difficulties have straightened themselves out too.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
So Diane, I didn't get
Definitely.
your guys' answer. What's your favorite haunted place?
You know, Savannah is definitely very high on the list. I guess I go between that and St. Augustine, which is really cool since they're so close. And isn't it interesting that the close places are the ones that we're choosing? Because I think we're most familiar with them, maybe.
Yeah.
That's probably so, but I mean, I think like I can't say Savannah because I've never been there. So it's going to probably be the places that we've been to. Let's see, we got any California visits in mind. We were close to setting up a Phoenix and then LA show this year, back-to-back days. Didn't happen. We're going to probably make it out to California in the next couple of years. I don't know if it'd be for a live event or just to go out and visit, maybe do some meet and greets. Diane, y'all got any plans
I
for
know
California?
the good news for us is Kelly is from California, and that's where her kids are at. So she definitely goes back there at least once a year. I know when she went last year, I joined her, and that's when we did the Queen Mary, which was awesome.
Right.
And then we also, if we're allowed to, have gatherings in October. There's supposed to be a Fear Con in Utah that we're going to be at, and we were thinking about renting a car and then driving over to California. So maybe at the end of the year we'll have something there.
Sometime in October.
Yeah.
Really cool. Jamie says, when we get to some safe time, what are some of the first trips you're planning anywhere you're really looking forward to?
well,
I'll
that's
let you
Savannah
guys-
for you, right?
Yeah, huh?
Was that Savannah for you?
Yeah, if the Savannah stuff and all that takes place in October, then that's probably what I'm looking the most forward to. Savannah and Charleston in a 3-4 day period each other.
Yeah, that's the same here. The only trip we have planned at this point is the Savannah one for the live show.
Right.
Yeah, I hope that happens.
Anywhere we can do a good investigation, I think, too.
Yeah, I mean, we want to try to get somewhere to investigate because we're really hankering for it now. Because as we all know, we were supposed to be at Waverly Hills tonight.
Yeah.
This was supposed to be the live show in Louisville today and then Waverly Hills, but didn't happen.
Yeah.
That reminds me, I need to get a refund
From
Yeah, make sure you
what's her name?
from Waverly.
contact them.
Yeah.
Jessica says, that's Jessica from Shoes, Booze, and Tattoos. What haunted place have you been to that you would like to revisit and why? I'll let you guys, since you're the guest, answer first.
Well, Waverly Hills was definitely top on the list because this would have been a revisit, and I would definitely love to visit there again. Wow, I'm trying to think of a place.
For me, it would be McPike Mansion in Alton, Illinois.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I just had amazing experiences there, and I really want to get back and just compare, just see how it goes compared to the prior visit.
That's awesome.
I agree. Pike Mansion, it was such a cool experience because I'd never seen ghosts manifest as colors.
Mm-hmm.
And they did that there, and I would love to see if that happened again to kind of back that up, that it actually is something repeatable. You know, we're always looking for some kind of science that's repeatable when it comes to paranormal, and that to me would be kind of that way.
I think I would say
and then
Key
I
West.
saw a person, so that was just crazy. Oh, sorry.
So you're
Key West,
fine.
definitely.
Yeah, Key West is. I felt like that we didn't get to see as much paranormal wise because that's not really why we came down there. We did go on one ghost tour, but I feel like that there was probably better ones that could have been done, or a little more examination into one or two places. But I would like to do that again.
Love you, Jenny. And look, we have Karen from New Zealand. Hey, sweetheart. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, we had Australia up there too.
Yeah, thank you.
Cheryl said, "Are they still doing Not Scary Farm?" So I'm sure that's a question for you, Kelly.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. My sons just went last year, and prior to me moving out to Florida, I had taken my oldest son there. So, yeah, definitely Not Scary Farm. It's a little bit more tame, I guess you could say, compared to how it used to be when I was a teenager. They could still touch you, and I got picked up and swung around by a zombie guy and
Oh, hell no.
crazy.
Ooh.
I'd be punching somebody.
I would so
You know,
be
the-
punching. I would be too.
What
But
experience?
Elvira's not there anymore, right?
No, Elvira's not. Well, as of 2 years ago, I think
Okay.
she was done there.
Brenda asked, "What experience did you have at St. Augustine?"
Well, I've had several. The main ones have been at the lighthouse. We've had, I got locked into the lighthouse when I was there doing a tour, and it was by something we couldn't see. It was a deadbolt, and the tour guide who was across the field had to come over and unlock it with his key. So it wasn't something that we were able to do or that anybody that was anywhere around there, because he was the only one who had a key. So that was probably the most amazing experience.
Yeah.
We used dowsing rods inside the keeper's house, and we got a lot of interaction with that. And Kelly, you want to share kind of what was cool about that interaction?
Well, it was one of the first times where I was able to make the discernment between the way that the rods moved and who was responding to me. So the wife was very just gentle and smooth with her answers to the questions. And with the gentleman, it was just a lot more forceful. And it really made it very clear as to who was responding when I was asking the questions. It was really bizarre.
Wow.
Amy says, "Is the Mothman event still happening for you guys?" Too early to tell right now. As of right now, we're assuming yes. There's going to be a lot of factors that go into these upcoming shows, to be honest with you, even the ones in October. First of all, it may be a situation to where the cities or the states or the country is open back up. But then we also have to take in consideration how many of the shows that are involved they feel okay to still come out and do it and be around crowds. The general public that are buying tickets, do they want to be around crowds even though the government says it's safe? Do they feel comfortable being around crowds? Mm-hmm. And then you got to factor in the financial. I know in the Charleston show, for example, it's us, Mike Brown from Pleasing Terrors, and then we've got just completely drew a blank. The young lady from Ghost Hunters International, she's going to come along. Now, that that location alone is $500 just for the rental. And if we can't sell enough tickets to even get the money back for the rental, Mike Brown runs a tour company down there. He'd have to take off for the night. He would be losing money. And, so if it's a situation where we feel like people aren't as interested in being in a crowd, we may have to make decisions that we don't necessarily want to make. So it's going to be a lot that goes into these decisions. We've already canceled the May Indianapolis show. And to be honest with you, June's not looking good either, because that's in Chicago, and Illinois is going to be closed basically up until June 1st. And that show's like the June 9th or something. So to be honest with you, that's probably not going to happen, just because. And the other part to factor into it is some people are going to be having financial problems. They may not be able to travel to these things that they didn't foresee. So we got a lot of decisions to make, and we're not going to make them till we have to make them, but it's going to be tough all the way around, I'd say.
A lot of variables, definitely.
Yeah, a lot. Pam says it's nice to see faces to people she listens to all the time.
Thank you, Pam.
Our ugly mugs.
Oh, we beautiful.
Yeah.
We are.
Jenny says, what do you guys think about dream interpretation? Diane, Kelly, I'll let you guys go first.
Do you want to take that first, or?
I'll let you take it first.
I don't know. I get a little sketchy when it comes to dreams. I know a lot of people share them when they have some weird dreams, and they kind of equate it to paranormal stuff. And I mean, dreams can be all kinds of crazy things. I've had some crazy dreams, but when people have dreams that kind of predict things, or they foresee things and then they happen, that really is interesting to me. And I would love to know more about that, if that's some kind of a psychic energy that's causing them to have that dreams. And then there's also people who sometimes describe their loved ones who've passed away coming to them in a dream, and they'll say it felt so real that they were there. And I actually kind of think that maybe people can come to you in your dreams because you're in a very suggestive state of mind. Mm-hmm. So it might be easier for them to show up that way.
Yeah, I'll agree with that in terms of family coming back to visit. In regards to the dream interpretations, I haven't studied much on it. So it's one of those things where it's kind of all just subjective, at least in my mind at this point.
I don't put a lot into dreams. I do believe that loved ones can visit you in your dreams just because you're in a more relaxed state of mind. But, if I have a dream that I'm riding a roller coaster and holding a rooster and drinking a Budweiser all at the same time, I don't think there's necessarily that means anything. Other
There's a deep meaning to that.
Yeah. But I do think that you can have out of body experiences, which is what we talked about last week on the show. And I think you can be visited by people during your dream state if the conditions are right. So, Tracy?
I dreamed that I had to pee, and I peed in the bed.
Oh my God!
That was 2 weeks ago.
As long as it wasn't real.
No, it was real. It was real. But I don't know. Yeah. I know.
I think it's different.
Have y'all never done that? Like dream you were like having to go pee, and I was just so out of it. And I think I just peed the bed.
Yeah, but I don't think you were asleep. I think you were passed out drunk. That's different.
Was that different?
I was going to say maybe drunk. I don't know.
I've had one dream like that. It wasn't that long ago, but thankfully I didn't pee the bed.
Oh my
but
gosh.
I had a weird dream that I was petting a giant cardinal that looked like a rooster.
Last night.
Really
Were y'all in each other's minds or what? Oh my gosh. No, I honestly do believe that, I feel like people can come to you in your dream. I would hope so. I mean, I have like a lot of dreams, about my parents and stuff like that. And even though I don't know for a fact that it's them, I feel like it is them. Tell them, kind of coaxing me or whatever, or let me know something. But
Sure.
I think that's cool. I think it's great if that happens. They should just show up in the bedroom, and I'd be like, "Oh, what's up, Mom and Dad?" That'd be great, right?
Absolutely.
I would love it if Mom and Dad come to visit.
Oh, heck yeah.
Bet they won't. Probably not.
No, you don't know.
Hmm.
Greg West says, "Would love
I mean,
for
if you saw a full body, sorry.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
No,
I was
that's
gonna
okay.
say, if you saw a
Go
full
ahead.
bodied apparition of your parents, you might be the bed.
No, that's true. That's very true. Or my mom will be coming back.
Sorry,
home.
Jerry.
That's all right.
Why are you pissing the bed? You're a whole, entire adult. Didn't I teach you to go back? That's probably what I would get. Okay, sorry.
Oh my gosh.
Greg West says, "Would love for you to do a show about Limp Mansion in St. Louis, Missouri. Incredible history and even more incredible place to stay. I think you both love it." Well,
No, yes,
I'll
sir.
get this one to start.
Okay.
Out of almost 4 years of doing this show now, Limp Mansion is the only show that I started, did every bit of the research, and scrapped at the end and decided not to do. It's fascinating history. I'm just not that fascinated with it. I just, I don't know. It's a lot of suicides, a lot of, like you said, good history, tragic. It's a tragic story. Wasn't a whole lot on the paranormal side that I was enthralled about. And therefore, when I got to the end, I just like, I've done all this research. I'm starting to write it. And I'm like, I can't get into it. And if I can't get into it, I'm not going to do a very good job trying to tell you the story. So that one got scrapped, and it's the only story that I've ever scrapped in almost 4 years. Diane?
Rude.
We did do an episode on it. I can't remember what number after, 322 or whatever. I never remember what's what. But Jerry, I totally back up what you're saying there because I've actually been in the Limp Mansion 3 different times and I've never, ever once felt anything supernatural, paranormal. I've never had a single experience in there. And I've done a private tour in there with the woman who actually gives the tours there. And she took us into places most people don't go. Nothing. It was deader than a doornail. So I think it's a little overhyped, maybe because of all the suicides that are connected to it. I don't know.
Or it could be it just wasn't the right time because, that it does happen where you don't have experience.
I know, but I've been there 3 times
I
and
know.
nothing. So I don't know.
We had David Flora from Blurry Photos on, and he actually stayed there and stayed by himself because they kind of lock up the place. And he was one of the few people in there. And so he had was able to just kind of roam around when he wasn't supposed to, much like Diane did at the Low Hotel up in Point Pleasant. And he was telling us that he didn't really, he had a little bit, but we did actually have him on to tell his experiences in the Limp Mansion. So that episode does have a little bit on there.
Let's see what we got down here.
We all love Tracy.
Aw, thank you guys. You're so sweet.
The show says, when I'm particularly troubled or have a problem that I just can't solve, my mom visits me in dreams, and that helps me come to a solution.
Good. That's so nice, Cheryl.
Paul McCartney used to say the same thing.
Really?
Yeah,
Wait. In a song?
just wait for it. So Shayla says the same thing about Limp, and she actually lives in Missouri. She's host of Show Me Spirits podcast. So,
Okay.
Good.
see, is there a place that's so evil
Yes.
that you won't address it? Well, I already know Tracy's answer, but we'll let her say it anyway.
Hell. What's it called now? I
Hell's
forgot.
the Gates of Hell.
Oh, Gates of Hell. That's it. No way. No way. I have a feeling Jerry's going to say, hey, let's go to this one place, and I really won't know where it is. And he's going to drop my butt off there, and then I'm going to be dead from a heart attack. He
Oh my
has
gosh, no.
he has wanted me to go like 500 times. I'm like, I am not stepping foot in that place.
I don't have any place that I feel like is too evil to go. I mean, we've been to the Sally House, which is supposed to be demonically possessed. We've been to Bobby Mackey's, where there's been exorcisms done. If you can get those 2 places, I don't think there's any place that you won't go.
Nope.
But Gates of Hell is probably the likeliest. Next one.
Evil. I have a hard time thinking any place is really evil. I don't know. So I don't have anything on my list that I wouldn't go in there. So we'll see if I change that by going into a place that is supposedly really, really crazy. But before we went into Waverly Hills, the first time I was a little bit intimidated because of all the stories I heard about it, but I came out of there and thought it was the coolest experience I'd ever had.
Good. That's a
and
pretty
even
cool
spending the
place.
night and even spending the night at Velisca,
Yeah.
Axe Murder House. It was a little bit nerve-wracking at first going in there, a little bit of nerves and that type of thing. But everything that we experienced was really, I mean, we go in very respectfully and it was all very positive,
Mhm.
and it didn't feel bad. It didn't feel negative.
Tell
We were
us
there
about
during a major thunder and lightning storm.
Oh gosh.
tell us about y'all's trip to Velisca. Tell us as much as you can about what the experience is out there.
You want to go first?
It's a very small house.
Yes.
So you walk into it and you're like, you find it hard to believe when you're walking around it that 8 people were killed in it and nobody woke up. It's like,
Right.
how did that happen in this small little area and nobody woke up? And that one person was able to commit that kind of a murder. It's really amazing. When you first hear the stories about it, you are intimidated going in there, thinking that you're going to run into something bad or evil because people talk about all these horrible things that have happened in there. We obviously have all heard the story about the paranormal investigator who stabbed himself in the chest when he was in there.
Right.
So we were a little bit worried about being in there, and all we think we did was have EVP sessions with the kids, spirit box session again with the kids.
The dowsing rods with the kids. Flashlights would respond to us. Dolly was there with us, and
Oh,
she needed a flashlight to go out to her car in the middle of the night. And literally, the light just turned on right as she was looking for one. Like,
Oh
here it
my God.
is. And I had the same thing happen with myself also. When I needed a light, I was heading out of the house because they don't have running water or anything in the house. I needed to use the restroom, and I was looking for a flashlight, and boop, it just popped right back on, and here you go.
Wow.
The craziest thing that happened is when we were there, they had one of the most violent thunderstorms they'd had in a really long time. I mean, it was crazy outside. So we thought we were going to get crazy activity just because of all the electrical energy. And we're standing in the kitchen, and I'm like, wow, that rain sounds really, really loud outside. It's almost as if it's inside. We turn on the flashlights because there's no electricity in the house, and the roof was leaking in like 6 different places. So we spent a good hour running around grabbing antique pots and pans and putting them around to catch the water. It was leaking like a sieve, and so that was probably the craziest thing that happened. But one really cool thing that did happen is I mentioned that when we went to McPike Mansion that the spirits there manifested in color, and every time I go somewhere now, I'm always going to be looking for that. It's like going to be a focus for me. And when we were in Velisca, we were in the upstairs bedroom where all of the kids were killed that weren't the 2 neighbor girls. And it was about dawn, and I heard the train going across town, and you can hear it really well. Yeah. And so I was just enjoying listening to the train because we don't have them nearby here, and I love the sound of that. And I was looking up at the ceiling, and I thought I was seeing a little swirl of purple. And I was like, gosh, that's almost like at McPike Mansion. I wonder if it's something trying to manifest. And I went, you know what? It's dawn. The light's just barely coming through the blinds. I'm just kind of seeing things. My eyes are focusing weird. And it kind of went away. And then it came back. And I started wondering, do we have an audio thing that happens where we'll see color sometimes if we hear sound? And so I did a lot of research on that, and I didn't find anything on that. But the other thing I noticed is I was seeing these little white streaks, and they were very, very small. And they seem to be kind of shooting out of this purple thing. Well, I didn't say anything to Kelly about it other than later on I told her that I thought I'd seen this little purple thing that was manifesting near the ceiling, but it was probably just the light or something. And then we got home and we were sharing about the experiences that we had on one of our episodes, like Return to Velisca, Axe Murder House or something. And as we were describing this, I threw in, well, I also saw these little white streaks.
I think I actually mentioned it
Maybe
before
you did.
you said it.
And she said she'd
was
seen
like,
these
I
little
just saw
white
these little
streaks.
white streaks. I thought it was just my eyes, getting adjusted to the light and that type of thing.
So there we are recording, and I went, wait a minute, you saw it too? So we hadn't even talked about it to each other right after we had seen it until we were recording. So
Very cool.
I don't know what that was, but it was really cool.
Yeah.
I want to get to a couple of questions, and then I want y'all to talk about McPike Mansion because that's the one that I'm not familiar with. So I think that'd be cool because you obviously, Kelly, are very excited about it. So I want to be able to hear some of what went on. So Glenn says this may be a bit dark, but is it Dachau was the strongest feeling I've ever had, and not keen to go back. I'm not familiar with that place. Diane, are you familiar with that place?
Yes, it's a concentration camp, and we actually talked about it. We did an episode on the concentration camps, and we included Auschwitz, Dachau, Berk. What's the one that's? Gosh, I can't remember. It starts with a B. That one's also supposed to be haunted. We'd had people asking us for probably a couple years, will you do the concentration camps? And I was like, absolutely no. I'm not going to do that. I don't want to look like we're trying to not necessarily glorify something, but I just wasn't comfortable with it. And everybody started responding back to us and saying, we think you guys would do a really good job with it. And so we did it. And I think we did a pretty fair job with it, and, you know, that kind of thing. But yeah, they do have some definite hauntings there. I mean, you can only imagine what the energy's like.
Right. Belzec? Was it Belzec?
No, it was another one.
Okay.
Bergen. Yes, it's Bergen-Belsen. Bergen-Belsen.
I mean, there's so many.
I know Victoria Reagan. She was in the military over in Germany, and she's now, I think, in Alaska. I think is what she said. But she said that Auschwitz was the worst place she'd ever been to. See, Ryan Downer, what about while someone is in the process of passing away and they're talking and describing things to you, but never open their eyes and look at you, then die shortly after? Interesting. I've not ever had that experience, so I really can't comment on it, to be honest with you. Diane Kelly?
I have not had that. I've not had that happen personally. The only passing that I actually was witness to, they were essentially asleep the whole time. But I can imagine if they're viewing something, if they're seeing something through their mind's eye, whether it's family coming back. I mean, I do feel like there's family that comes back to see you at the end and take you over.
I have never, thankfully, been in the presence of someone who was passing away, but I think the coolest description I've ever heard of that was actually who's the guy who headed up Apple? Steve
Jobs?
Yeah, Stephen Jobs. When he was passing away, I heard that he opened his eyes and he said, "Oh wow, oh wow, oh wow." So I thought that was a very cool story, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he was thinking about the iPhone 10.
It could be.
Ruth Dempsey says, which gates of hell? Yeah, there are several gates of hell, no doubt about that. This is the Gates of Hell Cemetery in Elizabethtown, Kentucky. And yes, it's the same Elizabethtown from the movie.
Hi, Josh. I love you too, honey.
Let's see. Second podcast I follow after Ohio. I have to say, you two and your kids are amazing. Stay strong through these hard COVID-19 times. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
There's Victoria. Took a sensitive friend to Dachau. We had to leave soon after arrival. She said the smell of spit and gangrene were nauseating her. I couldn't smell a thing.
Oh my goodness. Bless her heart. I love you, Josh.
That's
Give my baby a
great.
kiss.
Aww.
All right, so tell us about McPike Mansion.
So McPike is this old, well, you should probably give the background of the actual mansion, then I can just talk about the experience. I mean, you have more details in terms of how Sharon ended up with it. And
Yeah, this is in Alton, Illinois, and it's kind of outside of the old downtown area. It was built by a family. I can't remember the name of them off the top of my head, but it's a typical Victorian mansion. They were the only family who really lived in it. It ended up abandoned for many, many years, was falling apart. And Sharon, who owns it now, would drive past it all the time and be like, boy, I would love to own that. I'd love to own that. And finally, it went up for auction. And so she went down there and made a bid on it and actually managed to outbid everybody. And she's been trying to fix it up ever since, but obviously it costs a ton of money and it is in horrible condition. So the most that she's been able to do is a little bit of renovation on the upper floors, but the cellar area is perfectly fine and stable. And that's where they take you down. They give you a tour. They do, what do they call it? Like blackout or dark out?
dark tour. I
Yeah, they
believe.
do like a dark session. And you can imagine if you're, say, in a cave and you're sitting in a chair and that's how pitch black it is down there. You can't see your hand in front of your face.
Oh.
And
Yeah, it's pretty much a cellar. She was promised a huge sum of money through the city, I believe, to renovate it. And then once she purchased it and actually won it for the bidding, they were like, oh, wait, no, we don't have that for
We
you.
don't have any money.
So it's been a process for them. But for the safety of the tours and everything, they do just go down into the cellar. And it's essentially, it's a half round room. It's like a semicircle, and it's all brick and everything.
It
with the
used to
dirt
be a
floor.
wine cellar.
Right. It's basically a wine cellar. But you go in there, and essentially everything just goes dark. Everything is turned off. You're not allowed to have any devices with you that are on, just for the sake of not having that, the
Contamination.
contamination, the corruption of things going off. They'll open that up to you at the end, but it's just a matter of them giving the backstory, and you have dowsing rods if you choose to use them. And you just have these experiences. And it was really bizarre because I saw my first, well, actually prior to that, we were allowed to walk the grounds and take photographs. And there had been a story about a woman carrying an infant child over in the one garden area. And they said, sometimes if you look over there, if you take multiple pictures, you can sometimes catch something. So I was kind of standing over there and taking pictures, and I kept getting drawn to the one area off to the side. And I started walking that way. Oh, are you going to show it? And all of a sudden I was holding my phone up to take, successive pictures, just standing still and pressing it a few times to catch something or see if I could. And before I even pressed the shutter on my phone, I saw a blue light.
Oh gosh. Oh wow.
And then I just started
Wow,
taking
right there.
pictures, and it showed up in the picture.
Oh man.
And I had no idea what it was,
Mhm.
but I had just been constantly drawn over to that area. And then I guess a few people were saying, well, it was maybe a will of the wisp. They were giving different suggestions as to what they thought perhaps it could be. There was nothing over there. We had already walked around that area. There was nothing there that could be reflecting anything. There was no lights. It was really,
Mhm.
it was one of my first experiences. And so it really blew my mind.
Well, what made it cool is you saw the blue light and took a picture of
Exactly.
it. So
Yeah,
it
I
isn't something
saw
that
it,
just
and
showed
then
up in the picture.
I literally was holding my phone up and getting ready to press it, and I saw it, and I just kept, pressing the shutter button.
Ah,
But then later, when I was working with the dowsing rods, I was going through thinking, it's a blue light. Maybe it was a child. And I was asking, who it could be. I was giving off different names, wasn't getting any reaction. And then all of a sudden, I just thought, well, maybe it was Mr. Henry, and he was the owner of the property. And he is the one that I ended up seeing as a shadow figure. And it immediately went to yes. I mean, it was the reactions that I got there in terms of answers to questions were just so strong and so immediate. It was one of my first experiences with dowsing rods. It was really bizarre because I was getting answers that I never expected. So, to me, if I was somehow controlling that with my mind, I would have totally come out with a different response than what I got. And with Mr. Henry, it wasn't scary at all. But when they say it's darker than dark and blacker than black, he really was. And it was almost like, I don't know if you're familiar with Flat Stanley. It's a children's book, and it's about this this flat kid, and they take him and do stuff with him. But it was a very two-dimensional. You could see where the eyes were supposed to be, but it was holes. You could see the outline of the face. I could see.
And this is in the pitch black. She's
Yeah.
seeing a shadow in pitch black.
Oh.
Like you see facial definition, but he literally, I saw him go past me, and then it was like he recognized that I was seeing him. He turned around and he went lower and turned and looked at me, and I was like, whoa, okay.
Oh my gosh.
But it
I
wasn't scary. It was exciting, but it wasn't scary. I didn't feel like any kind of threat or anything of that nature. So
See,
You were getting all kinds of attention.
Yeah.
yeah.
Sounds like.
Well, there were kids playing with my earrings and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh
I mean,
my
she felt
gosh.
like a child got up in her lap and started playing with her earring. She could feel
Yeah.
something in her lap.
Oh my goodness.
Well, and I wasn't sure, I have that open-minded skeptic thing. So I'm just sitting there going, I feel like there's something in my lap. it's really cold. And then all of a sudden my earrings are getting like dangled. And I was like trying to be super still, I'm not moving, but I would feel them getting played with and stuff, and the hair a little bit. And I know Tammy had the same experience with her hair and stuff, and she has her curls, and they were playing with her curls. And
Oh my gosh.
it was
I could not
it was
do that.
really interesting. It wasn't scary though.
Just
and
the pitch black would have been enough for me. I'd have been over that.
Well,
Well,
I can understand that, honestly. But the more I've been experiencing, it maybe some spirit will really change my mind one day and I'll get super freaked out. But just being respectful and everything, we've just had really good interactions.
Well, that's
And that was
great.
one of my first, and it was amazing.
Good. That's so
well,
awesome.
the cool thing too is we had a shaman who was with us, and she was sitting right across from me, and then Kelly was kind of diagonally from me, and then there was another girl sitting over to this side, and I was kind of sitting in the middle facing everybody. And the shaman was the one who told us that the spirits would present as colors, and each one had a specific color that they would always appear as. So there was like Sarah was red, and we caught an EVP of Sarah because one of the guys, when she said Sarah's here and she's presenting as red, the guy in front of me could see her, and he goes, "Is that you, Sarah?" And we caught an EVP on my recorder that said yes, like a woman.
Yeah, and he was one of the speakers at the Haunted America conference.
And then I was sitting there and I started seeing, it looked like this swirl of purple in front of my face, and it would start off small and then we'd get really big. And I would almost feel like I was enveloped in purple. And I kept thinking, like when you wake up in the middle of the night and your room's dark and your eyes are kind of playing tricks on you and you're trying to
Your eyes
focus.
too hard, you kind of see that fireworks kind of effect. But
Yeah.
It wasn't that.
So I kept thinking, are my eyes doing something weird because we're in the pitch black and I'm trying to look and see things, and it would kind of fade away and then it would come back and it would do this big spiral. Well, I just thought it was my own imagination and my eyes being weird. Well, then the shaman all of a sudden said, "Well, Gertrude is here and she's presenting as purple." And so I said, "Well, I'm seeing purple." And right after I said that, Kelly goes, "I see purple in front of you too." And the girl that was sitting right
I
next
had
to me on
been
this
seeing
side
purple
said,
in
"I've
front
seen purple
and up
right
on
in
the
front of you
ceiling.
too." And so I was like, holy crap. Because when other people have the experience
Yeah.
with you, then it's not just your mind making stuff up.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. I wasn't talking about everything as I was experiencing it. I was just kind of holding everything, close to the chest because I didn't want to influence anybody else. But when you said that, I'm like, I've been seeing it.
And I'd never had an experience like that before. And it was just so cool. And it lasted for like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
wow.
didn't feel cold or anything, but it was just like, whoa, this is amazing.
Oh man, Gertrude was showing up.
Yeah, I would be terrified if something played with my curls, because my first question would be, where the hell do those curls come from?
What curls?
So-
What curls?
I was going to ask how you get your hair cut at this time when, all the barber shops are shut down, Jerry.
Yeah. Who's laughing now? I've been doing this for 20 years. Hadn't bothered me any. All right, let's answer a couple questions real quick. This is more of a statement, but I'm curious. Michael says Edgar Allan Poe's last words were, "Lord, to help my poor soul." I was under the impression that Edgar Allan Poe was basically found comatose and he died, and I wasn't aware that he said had any last words. So
That's really sad. Last words.
huh?
I said that's really sad.
Yeah. So that was my understanding, that they found him more or less just passed out in a gutter with somebody else's clothes on, and he never woke up. So I would be interested to know more if I was misled on that. Couple quick ones. Mindy says, "I know it's off topic, but I think it's cool that Edgar Allan Poe was an inspiration to Sylvester Stallone."
Yo, Adrian.
Yo, Annabelle. Yo, Annabelle.
Kayla,
Yeah.
We-
Kayla said, go ahead, Trace.
she said the doctor called and said she does not have COVID, just the flu. Thank you, God. We're so happy
Oh,
to hear that,
thank goodness.
Kayla. Good.
And look,
Very
I
good news.
want to say this. We're all going through a rough time right now. A lot of people are struggling with the quarantine and people being out of work and all that. I don't know of anybody having a rougher time right now than Kayla. And Kayla, we just want to say we love you. We're keeping you in our thoughts.
Absolutely. Good news, though.
Yeah, very good news.
What got you interested in the paranormal? I answer this every week, so I'm assuming they're talking to you guys. So I will let Kelly and Diane answer.
I don't know. I always was. From the time that probably the first few TV shows started coming on about it. I mean, I had a couple weird things happen, but nothing on the regular or anything that just like nothing that just, stood out and made me try to learn more about it. Let's put it that way. But then it's like once the TV shows started coming out, I just got hooked.
For me, I've just always been one of the weird kids, I like to say. I've just always been fascinated by odd and weird things. I started reading about weird stuff, reading Edgar Allan Poe when I was a kid. I don't know what the appeal was to me. I think it was just because it was something that could not be explained. And I love things like that. And I just want to search it out. And I have a curious mind. And so it just really appealed to me. And of course, as I've gotten older, I think the ghost stories just add so much to historical places. Obviously, all of us like history because we talk about it so much on our podcasts and stuff. And I think the ghost stories just make it that much more fun. And
That's
so
why we always go down the rabbit holes.
Yeah.
Curious minds and all.
Oh, thank you, April. You're so sweet. Thank you, honey.
Ruth says, will you all keep up the Facebook live chats after quarantine? Probably not. We're just bored too, like you guys. No, I'm just kidding.
Terrible.
We're really enjoying doing this. And it's funny, you can blame my son for this because he said, hey, are you going to get a green screen and do some live stuff? And I'm like, no, because nobody wants to see us live. And just being honest, we did videos in the past, and some of those videos have been up for 3 years, and they don't even have like 100 listens yet, so or 100 views. So I'm like, apparently, the YouTube world and the podcast world don't always coincide. People either love videos and don't like the audio, or vice versa. Mm-hmm. You find very few who actually love both. So we decided to go ahead and do this when all of the quarantine happened. And I think we're going to continue to do it. I don't know that we'll do it every single week, but we'll probably do it at least once or twice a month after everything's said and done. Let's see. Derek says there's a place in Idaho that I feel drawn to. And somebody else already asked, basically, if so they live in Idaho also, they were curious what place it was drawn to. So we're kind of waiting on that. Kayla, are you ever afraid of bringing something back with you? Not afraid. We're always, I just don't worry about it. I just don't. I'm not one of these people that worry about any of that stuff. And we have people bring us little protection things all the time. And we appreciate every one of them. Mm-hmm. But it's just not something, I'm not a crystal guy. I'm not I don't know, any of that stuff. I don't care.
Got a crystal ball. Whoop, whoop.
What about you, Tracy? Do you worry about bringing something home with you?
The only time I've ever really worried was after my dad passed, and I felt like I was really vulnerable. And then where were we? In
Sally House.
At the Sally House of all places. And I kind of was afraid then, but Justin saved me, so we're all right. Justin Rimmel. He protected me. Yeah. So honestly, we
always just state.
Huh?
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say.
I was just going to say we always just make a statement. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Sorry. All right, don't make me referee between you two.
You are so fine, Kelly. Go on.
Kelly, she was done. Go ahead.
I was done.
I was just going to say that we always just make the statement that nobody's allowed to come back with us. Simple as that.
Okay.
Anybody that we interacted with, they need to stay at the location. They're not able to come home with us.
And we've started taking black tourmaline with us. It's supposed to repel things that would be evil or negative. So, yeah, we're not too worried about bringing anything back. And like Kelly said, we always make an announcement when we get in the car. You're not welcome to come with us. You have to stay here.
Well, that's good I wouldn't even have thought to say that. I don't know why, but
I used to do that all the time, so it wouldn't be a problem. But it was like when I took my kids to the mall, and I'd be like, "Nobody's coming back with us."
You were
So,
gonna say something like that. I just knew it.
Glenn Hamilton, hey, I think you guys did a show on the old Beechwood Asylum, Victoria, Australia. Stayed there in 2017. The old nurses' quarters has been converted into a hotel. We did one. There was 2 asylums back then. There was Beechwood and another one, and I can't remember which one we did the story on, but they were like neck and neck. They're not necessarily in the same, like vicinity, but there were 2 asylums, and I can't remember which one we did, but I think it was Beechwood. Diane, have y'all covered that one?
Nope, have not done that one.
Put it on the list.
Maybe you will have to.
Let's see what else we got.
Ryan Downer is leaving. That is a downer.
Aw, love you too, Ryan. Thanks for joining us.
And Tammy had said that at McPike, they were drawn to her because she's a teacher.
Oh.
So she
Oh.
mentioned that in the chat.
Do y'all have any ideas why some spirits like to watch people sleep? Because I think that would be a boring way to spend eternity.
I agree.
I keep seeing that meme come around Facebook that we've all seen, that majority of people wake up at 3 a.m. and when you do, it's somebody watching you, or probably because somebody, I do find myself waking up at like 3 or right in that vicinity, 3:15 or something
Every
on
night.
a regular basis. But
So do I.
I don't think it's because somebody's staring at me. I think it's because my body is more conditioned towards getting X amount of sleep. And if I go to bed at 10, I wake up 5 hours later, or it's because I have a weak bladder. Either way,
I
Yeah.
was just going to say, for me, it's my bladder.
my bladder's on a timer.
When you get to be our age, 3 a.m. is about the time the bladder
Yeah.
goes, okay, no more. We've got to evacuate.
Time to go.
Yeah.
April, we addressed that a little bit earlier, but yes, we do believe that that's dreams are a way that loved ones can communicate.
Pay attention. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, get on here on time.
She's playing catch up.
Robin says, "I wonder if
Robin, I would.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I would imagine that they are just like your cats. Cats are like, when are you going back to work?
Yeah.
Dogs are like, I love you. I'm going to miss you.
Yeah.
Victoria Reagan said, or your prostate, which would be my issue. I'm guessing I'm
I
the
was
only
gonna say,
one
we
here.
don't have
that has
We don't have
it. Yeah. I read that wrong at first. I thought it said, or you're a prostitute. And I'm like, sometimes they want their money at 3 a.m. You're right. Either way.
Is that where you've been going every night? And I thought you were just going to the bathroom.
We need to get out. Oh, my word.
Mm-mm-mm.
Yep, that was normal. Let's see. Ladies, are you having a good time?
Having a great time, yes.
Absolutely.
Let's
How
see.
about y'all?
Seems like I
Yeah.
missed one.
Thank you, Cecilia.
Here's one. Which y'all's favorite paranormal lore, legend, myth, story? I will let you two go first.
Oh, boy.
Sure. Put us on the spot. Favorite.
I mean, I can go first if you need time to speak.
I think for me, I love any stories or anything about elementals because we just don't understand what that is. They seem like they're so ancient. You don't know if they're a spirit, some other kind of entity. Are they good, evil? I don't know. And so they have always been fascinating to me. Anything that's an elemental type spirit, whether it's water, air, land, that kind of thing.
We may have gotten a picture of one today on our hike. That tree.
Oh, we went on a hike and got a crazy picture of a tree that was dead and it had been covered over with that stuff that isn't the invasive kind of plants that get all over the trees down here in the south.
Like an epiphyte.
And it was all dead. So it looked like this big monster coming up out of the ground.
Oh.
I remember.
Yeah, I would probably go with the elementals also, just in terms of the the nature aspect of it, because I just love nature so much and I'm always really drawn to that. So that would probably be, I don't have any specific legend, but that's something that I'm more drawn to. Definitely.
I think Dr. Watson was kind of into that too, because I remember he thought he saw a gnome, and I remember Sherlock Holmes said, "Elemental, dear Watson." So maybe that was.
But
Every day of my life.
And see, that's
why I'm surprised he's not dead.
We don't
It's
see each
another
other
day
that
in
much
your
during the day,
world,
believe it or
baby.
not. I literally am on the computer while she's doing something else. We see each other maybe 3 hours a day, and that's
Oh, wow.
we don't even go to bed at the same times most of the time. So, obviously, I can't get into elementals. I just can't. The whole Fey world and the realm, I just can't do it. We keep saying we're going to do a story on it, and I haven't. And it's mainly because I just, I really can't get that much into it. I believe in it because there's too many different aspects of it. All the different countries all have their own version, whether it be Pukwudgies or whatever the deal is. Everybody's got these different versions. So I do believe that there's something going on. It just doesn't excite me, just like aliens don't excite me. So if it doesn't involve a
I'm
probe.
the same.
Yeah.
Not into aliens or UFOs. Never really have been.
I mean, I like some of the stories because some of the stories are fascinating, but it's really got to be a good story to get my attention. Somebody telling me that they saw something up in the sky, just don't do it for me because it's like, okay, I believe there's aliens, so it's no big surprise to. Now you show me Bigfoot flying the saucer, we're in. My favorite story of all time, and I've mentioned this several times, is the Bell Witch story. So, and Seth Breedlove is actually doing a documentary on the Bell Witch where they're going to come out with some stuff that hadn't come out before, and that's supposed to be out later this year. I think maybe the end of this year or maybe the beginning of next year. But so I'm anxiously awaiting that one. He does a good job on everything.
Nice.
Tracy, do you have a favorite legend or lore or paranormal subject?
I like Aaron Mankey. The lore. I can't think of it right at the minute. No. That would be a big no.
Yeah. You don't have any favorites?
Mm,
You don't have anything that fascinates you on that side?
no.
Okay. And this is why she doesn't do the research on the shelves. What age roughly were you when you realized you felt there was another side to our plane? Diane Kelly. you
No,
go
that's
first.
not what that said at all. Try again.
What does it say?
What age
That is
roughly
what-
was you? You said realized and it's released.
Oh, well, who?
No.
I think it was supposed to say realized.
Oh. Don't be putting words in his mouth.
I'm not. I'm putting it on the screen.
Taj, I
That's
got
different.
you. I got you. Look at that look Taj is giving you. Like,
Well, we're going to assume we know what he's talking about. So, Diane.
I think he meant realized too.
Yeah.
I would probably say for sure when I was 16, because that was the first time I had an experience I couldn't explain. And it was my sister and I were sitting in a room in the house watching a horror movie together. My folks were out of town and we heard distinctly what sounded like dogs' paws walking across the linoleum in the kitchen. And we didn't have a dog and we were the first people to own this house. So we didn't know where they'd come from. But since we both heard it, it was like, wow, what was that? So I knew there was something weird for sure because I had experienced it personally about 16 years old.
I was a bit younger, and it's all related back to that oil painting that I showed you. My father received an oil painting. Well, no, actually, my great grandfather originally received the oil painting years and years ago. He was a lawyer and he received it as payment. My whole entire life as a child, it was a frightening picture or oil painting to me. And all it was is it's a herder with some cattle in a grove of a bunch of trees. But I would rush past that thing every single time that I had to pass it, especially at night. I did not want to go past it at night. And the really weird thing is, as an adult, as a grown grown ass adult with my sons and everything. I ended up with that painting in my house, and I kept having the weirdest it was almost like residual haunts where I would see something and it was just a shadow crossing at the base of the stairs essentially, and then going up the stairs multiple times. It was always the same way, and it wasn't like I was looking directly at it, but it was always the same thing. And something happened where my parents decided that they were going to sell that painting through like Christie's auction house, and so I gave it back to them. I was happy to be rid of it. I had only taken it because they kind of like made me feel like I should. And once it was gone, I never saw the shadow again. And it was like probably another 4 years at that house, and I never saw it again.
Oh,
And
wow.
it wasn't even until later that I associated it with that painting that I think that was the cause of it all. It was, yeah.
No, that's creepy for sure. I was sitting here wondering why you took it to your new house. But
Well, it was one of those things where, parents are getting rid of antiques and whatnot, and it's very valuable and you need to keep it in the family and that kind of thing. And I was like, I really don't like this thing. It really disturbs me, but I still did it, just because they're my parents.
right.
But then when they decided they wanted to sell it, I was more than happy to get rid of it.
Oh, good. Good.
Well, I was 13. That's when we moved into a haunted house, and I've told that story 1,000 times. Most people have probably heard it. So we will move on real quick. What's your favorite cryptid?
Go ahead.
For me, I guess it would be Dogman or Werewolf, something of that nature. I like those stories, and there's so much evidence behind them, kind of similar to Bigfoot and stuff, although I'm not as crazy about Bigfoot, although they could be very similar. But yeah, the Dogman stories, I love those.
Mm-hmm.
I started kind of enjoying Mothman after going to West Virginia. So that would probably be my first, although I still have a definite feeling that it might be a sandhill crane that people saw, but who knows? A nuclear sandhill crane? I don't know. But nuclear. What? How did I say it?
You said it.
Nuclear.
You said
I
it
don't
like
know.
George Bush.
Nuclear.
Like it had some nuclear poisoning or something. I don't know. But regardless, probably that. Second up for me would be Bigfoot.
Tracy?
I'm sorry.
Do you have a favorite cryptid?
I kind of like Dogman. I do. Don't shake your head. Yeah, I think I'm with Diane on that. It's pretty interesting. We've had a bunch of different things we've talked about on the show. So
We just interviewed Linda Godfrey.
Yeah.
She'll be coming up soon. And of course, she's the one who wrote The Beast of Bray Road.
Yeah.
And was the one who actually kind of broke the story. So really cool.
pretty interesting.
Mine would be the Enfield Horror, which, if you're
What about that?
unfamiliar, it's from Enfield, Illinois. And it was just this creature. Then there was all kinds of evidence, 3, 4, 5 sightings. And this thing had like 3 toes and left footprints. And it was only like a couple of feet tall. And so it's really cool.
Well, how can you be scared of something that's 2 feet tall?
I'm scared of you sometimes.
Oh my God. Oh no. What's happening?
He sucks. I swear.
Do you have any haunting stories from Minnesota or New Hampshire? Diane, I know you've researched one, so I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right. So everybody probably knows that I'm really into haunted cemeteries. And in New Hampshire, they have a cemetery called Gilson Road Cemetery. And it's in a town called, I think is it Nashua? I know I said it wrong, I'm sure. But it's Nashua. And supposedly people say that they see this eerie hooded figure that walks around the tombstones there, and they get this really creepy feeling when they're in the cemetery. I mean, who doesn't get kind of a creepy feeling sometimes when you're in a cemetery? But what is added into this is they feel as though they're walking through water when they're walking through the cemetery. So I don't know if that is like a residual flood that happened there, or if it's some kind of energy that feels like they're moving through water, but I've never heard of any of that before. So I just thought that was kind of a cool experience that people have there. And then apparently they have the Chase House there as well. And this is in Portsmouth. And this was a building that used to be for orphans. And unfortunately, there was one orphan. I don't know about what age she was, but she was very depressed and sad. And she went up into the attic there. And as we hear so many of these stories, she took her own life. And supposedly she is still in the Chase House. And people will see her as a full-bodied apparition running around in the house, especially running towards where her room used to be there, I guess. And then she would just disappear into thin air. And then I don't know, have you guys ever done the Palmer House in Minnesota?
Man, I think we did a short on it. I don't think we actually did a full episode on it.
Yeah, this is in, I think you say it's Sauk City. Is that how you say it?
I think so.
I think so. And this is one of the most incredibly haunted places in Minnesota, particularly room number 17. I guess there was a woman who had been in there, and she had been working as a lady of the evening and was not really doing it because she wanted to. And so a lot of the time, people say that if you're in there and you put these two high back chairs facing each other so that they kind of, it looks like they're facing towards the bed as if you're watching something, that this woman feels like you're forcing her to do something, and she'll react to that and interact with you in some way. And so people say they will feel her energy there, and that she definitely seems to dislike men. So maybe not a place for you to stay, Jerry. She'll slam the room door really hard in their faces. And she slams it so hard that the artwork on the walls will rattle. And sometimes she'll cause the temperature in the room to drop to these really drastic degrees so that you're shivering and chattering and that kind of thing. And then there's another room in there. I think it's 22. Mm-hmm. And this is a really ruckus kind of entity, they say, likes to throw things around the room, move things around, makes it very hard for people to sleep in there. And they believe that this was possibly the room that the prostitute, her name was Lucy, and that this was her pimp's room. And so he's still there, and that's why he's a little bit more ruckus. And so maybe that's why we have some energy going on here, is that they're both there doing stuff.
Oh.
As far as the prostitute, her name was Lucy, but we all call her Loose. Peace out to the Beastie Boys.
You better definitely not stay there, Jerry.
Hey, I didn't write the lyrics. You can blame Ad Rock.
For you, like all the time.
Ricky Graninger, my original co-host, saying hello.
What's up, Ricky?
I love those face masks.
Isn't that cool? Very cool.
Oh, yeah, those are nice.
All right, we got a couple more, and then we'll get out of here. Let's see, where did this one go? Does Freddy and Ninja sense spirits? Yes, they do.
Absolutely. And it's the same spot in our house every time. It's like we have when you come down the hall, there's like a little coat room there, and every single time they'll just stop and just stare at that same spot. And Ninja did it before Freddy came along, and now Freddy's looking at the same place. So it's really creepy.
Many said I've had spirits try to communicate with me for help, but I get spooked and have to set my boundaries. I've had a WW2 POW follow me home and had to tell him politely to leave.
Hmm.
Jessica says, have you guys ever considered taking some, whatever that is, labradorite with you on investigations, provide protections, but can also increase the energy so you might have more or better experiences. Interesting.
Well,
we'll chat about that later. Next, we've had a few conversations.
I was going to say, you've talked to her about stuff like this, and that sounds, jot that down, because I would love to have stuff that would help increase the experiences as well.
Definitely.
Do you believe in black-eyed children? I personally don't. The guy pretty much said that he made the story up in Texas, and it was a joke, and everybody just kind of took it too far. I don't believe in it at all. Ladies?
I don't either.
Nope. Same.
How about this? Susan says she just came across the live show by accident and she listens to both podcasts.
Oh, nice. Thank you,
Hey,
Susan.
Happy accident.
Yeah. What else you got?
I like some. I like some of the UFO stories. If the whole abduction part of it and all that stuff is interesting, I like it. So
Yeah, I still enjoy them. I mean, it's just one of those things where I don't go out exploring and looking for it, I guess you would say.
I'll tell you what does interest me about UFO experiences is when I hear that people have something that comes into their room and that they say, "Leave me alone in the name of Jesus Christ," and the aliens leave or leave them alone. That I find fascinating because then I start wondering if it's a spiritual thing rather than an alien type thing.
Yeah, definitely.
well,
Hmm.
I guess I can go along with that because I really don't know. But I think there's definitely aliens. I think it's very egocentric to think that we're the only life form that exists in the whole universe. I mean, it's kind of stupid to have all those stars and planets out there for no reason. That's my thought. So,
Right.
last one, ladies. Diane, what's your favorite episode you did?
I always tell everybody the same thing. It's the one I'm working on right now or the one I just did.
Oh, cool.
Because really, it actually is the truth because that's what I'm digging at that moment is whatever I'm researching at that time. I guess, gosh, I have so many that I absolutely love, but the one that we've gotten the most talk about is a bonus cast I did, which wasn't even about a historical place, and it was Ghosts in the Bible. And I've
Right.
gotten so much feedback on that throughout the years. I did it really early on back in 2015, and I still hear about it today.
Wow.
Didn't you just do a recent episode or something? Because it seems like I just saw that come across the timeline.
Well, I've been talking about doing a second one. So
Right.
Okay.
Revisiting
That's what I saw.
in other areas.
Well, ladies, it has been so much fun. So glad that you joined us tonight. This has been our longest live episode.
Yeah.
well, that's cool. I'm just bummed that we didn't actually get to see you guys tonight in
I
person, give you
know. Yeah,
hugs and all that
I
great stuff. I'm definitely missing doing that.
Yeah, we're bummed too. We're so excited, but
Yeah, it's always the first one is always the most fun, I think, just because you have that little
Yeah.
3, 4, 5 month period where you don't do it and you're just ready for it. So
yeah.
it is what it is. We'll do it next year. Set it up some
I was
way.
going to say something for the future.
Yep.
And this
the
has
way it
been
goes.
great fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've
I've loved
enjoyed it. Tell everybody how they can get keep up with you guys if they're not familiar with your podcast. I'm sure there's a few in here that haven't listened.
If you go to historygoesbump.com, it's got all of the information where you can listen to us and check us out on social media and wherever you listen to podcasts, we're there.
Perfect. Y'all
Sounds
check
like a
them
plan.
out. Definitely.
Thank you so
Yep.
much for having us, you guys.
Oh, gosh, you're welcome. It's so good to see you all.
Yep. We will see you guys
Good to
soon.
see you.
Thank you for watching.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Love y'all.
Love you. Be good.